These are the Gyro Pro XR pedals. This pedal set has the ambition of having Heusinkvelds' ultimate levels of performance. I mean, obviously, just look at them. At not much more than upgraded Fanatec V3 money. That's really a big target coming from a newcomer to the sim racing market. When Gyrosim contacted me if I wanted to check out these pedals for review, I couldn't say no. I was just so intrigued by them. I had to wait for a few months, then when I got them, I raced with them, and I can tell you they are quite interesting. There's a lot to talk about. Disclaimer, the pedals were sent by Gyrosim. They have zero input on the review process and they do not know the result of the review. Let's mention the obvious first. These pedals are heavily inspired by Heusinkveld engineering pedals, so in this case the Ultimates, but they aren't exact copies of either the Springs or the Ultimates, but the design is close enough or inspired by in such a way that calling them clones or copies is, I think, a fair criticism. Hey, liar! I'm your clone! What they want to do here is quite obvious. They want to offer something that is more upscale, more advanced than your regular load cell kits that you can find anywhere. They want to bring a more advanced full metal construction for prices closer to the Fanatec V3s. The reason why you choose something like this instead of a V3 would be something like more customizability, a large choice of elastomers or springs, more control under your braking, and in theory, performance is closer to a pair of Heusinkvelds. The reason you choose one of these over a pair of Heusinkvelds is to save 200 euros for, in theory, the same type of performance. The reason why you're here though in this video is the same reason why I accepted these pedals to review, is to check out if that theory actually holds up. What I have here is the Sim Pro XR. They are for all intents and purposes a prototype pedal set to be released sometime soon, and they are made to be an improvement over the version they are currently selling, the X. You really gotta love naming conventions. Anyways, what I was sent was a Sim Pro XR throttle and brake, and then the clutch, and then the base plate. The throttle and brake are 389, the clutch is 99, and the base plate is 99 as well, so 589 euro in total. An upgraded V3 set is between 420 and 570, so 399 for the pedals, 20 for the necessary brake performance kit, and then 79 for each damper. If you buy two, it will be 2 times that. The prices on the XR might change a bit, as I'm told there will be a choice between an elastomer version and another one with brake springs, though not everything is set in stone at the moment. Specs wise, we are talking about Leo Bodnar 16-bit encoders all around, all sensors on the throttle and clutch, and a 100 kilo load cell. The build is aluminum and stainless steel with a very thick pedal plate. These are Gyrosim XRs, and you can see where they get the inspiration from. So we have the throttle, the brake, and the clutch. But of course, because these are cheaper, there will be some cost-saving measures, of course. In this case, the first one will be that the throttle and the brake are essentially a nunchuck because they're connected through this cable. There's no connector over here, so these two pedals are essentially hardwired one to the other. This can become quite annoying when you are installing them into your rig because the cable can get caught somewhere, instead of you installing each individual pedal and then later on just connecting each specific pedal to the controller box. Essentially, the controller box will be at the back of the throttle pedal. Over here you have the USB-A connector, and then you have this connector over here. It looks like a mini XLR. That is for the clutch. The clutch itself will have the cable, which is somewhat quite long, and then you connect it here, and then you would rotate it and close it to torque it in. You can change basically the elevation or the angle of the pedals using this type of elevation system, but on the throttle you can also change the preload of the spring by rotating this knob one way, or clockwise or counterclockwise, but you can also move it up or down to make it softer or harder. As it is from stock, it does have quite a long travel. I actually like the travel of this throttle, and it has quite a decent enough resistance into it, and then it has a hard stop at the bottom. It's not too noisy, but if you clank into it, just like any other pedal, it will have a hard sound. Despite there are some obvious design choices that were made to make it cost saving, I don't find any particular surface on either of the pedals to have an area that needs to be polished. so you can actually grab them with your hands, except over here where the bolt is put, so you can hard mount it to your rig or to the base. So this part over here, yeah, it feels like it needs to be polished a little more, but any other surface, it's safe for contact. The most important piece for every single pedal set for me is always the brake, and I find this brake really, really good. It's a 100 kilo load cell with a Maven NA151 rated at 100 kilo. So if you want to check out what type of load cell it is, it's a Maven NA151 100 kilo. And you can choose between two systems. You can use the spring system, which I actually actively do not recommend this. I'll explain just a little bit later. And you can use the elastomer with a preload. In this case, I'm using the spring. I've used the 60 short as well. I believe these are 60 short. It comes with 260, 280, and 290, which are currently on the pedal. And that way it really gives me a really good progressive system. If you want something a little more rubbery, of course you would use something like this as your preload spring, or you can mix and match and make it something a little more progressive. There are options for your light. To change the spring, it is actually quite easy. You just undo this bolt over here, then it will unscrew from the front. Then the old assembly comes down. You can just need to undo the knob or the screw at the front and then remove all the assembly. If you want to change it to the springs, you'll have to use a different bump stop at the bottom and at the top. It has this one over here, but everything will be explained in the manual. We're going to talk about the spring a little bit. It's basically configured at the moment as a 2-stage clutch, and it comes with this cable over here that has the mini XLR jack to connect to the throttle. I'm just going to talk about it a little bit, and the reason is why I haven't used it much. Not because I didn't want to, but because it exemplifies one of the issues of having prototypes, at least it's told to have, it's a prototype, is that when I clutch it to do a heel toe and I need to be really fast, and you need to exert some force into it, the pedal set and the USB connection that is on, so I'm using this in a USB hub, basically crashes the USB hub, and I don't have any other connectivity. So there must be some electrical fault in this, hence I'm not using this on my test, but it exemplifies some of the issues that you have by having prototypes, or you have by having a company that started not very long ago to construct sim racing hardware. Last but not least, the pedal tray. And this is quite thick and quite heavy. It's a big piece of metal with bits drilled into it. In terms of polish, this is something that they're trying out. I don't like the polish. It just gets dinged very easily and it looks ugly. I would like it to have it to be powder coated maybe, or with a different type of finish. I don't particularly like the finish, but then again, prototype set. In terms of adjustments, you have the regular adjustment side to side. You can put them like 2 or 3 pedals if you want. You can move them a little bit side to side on each direction, so it's no problem whatsoever. In terms of mounting, I'm not too sure if this is going to be something that is going to be on most pedal trays. On mine, there wouldn't be a problem. In a lot of ones, I don't think there will be a problem. Something like the GT Omegas or the P1Xs, it should be fine. On my Simatic, it was fine as well, but in terms of drill bits, well, there aren't many options. Software-wise is another area where these pedals are differentiated from Heusinkvelds, as in they don't have any proprietary software. It uses Leo Bodnar's DI view to calibrate the pedals. It's really nothing out of the ordinary, but really only has an option to calibrate the pedals. In order to calibrate the load cell, it will require the use of pressure to determine where you feel comfortable with it. So you would choose a value around where you feel comfortable and then calibrate the values. There's no easy way to calibrate a load cell maximum force, gamma levels, and so on. So that could be a massive letdown for some. There will be a spring and elastomer choice for this pedal set. You should totally avoid the spring because it becomes really hard to use the brake pedal. The brake pedal travel is so long and with no hard stop, it becomes really difficult to understand where you need to brake. It kind of reminds me of a very bad version of the TLCM. You'll be second guessing your brake points, and braking should be very instinctive. It should be your second nature. With the elastomer kit though, it becomes quite easy. You can do many things on the elastomers, You can mix and match to have like a progressive brake, or you can have a two-stage brake like I have with a little bit of trail braking. I have the spring at the moment, and I've used as well the very soft rubber. So you'll use the rubber or the spring as a bump stop or a trail brake spring or whatever, and then use your muscle memory to understand when you are hitting a place where you really need to brake hard. So that means, let's say if you want to commit to a very hard corner where you need to brake a lot, you would commit into it. You understand, you would pass the trail brake spring, and then you hit the hard bump, and then you will know instinctively that you are committing into a very hard brake. Or you can also go the other way around. When you are coming out of a very hard brake area into a situation where you need actually the car start turning around, you would come out of the force. You would understand you would be on the more rubber part or on the spring part, and you would be essentially trying to trail brake. For example, here at 3-1, there's a hard brake area at 100. The car needs still to brake, but you just need to release a bit to make the car pivot around. When you have a brake or have a pedal set that allows you for that, it's essentially a really good pedal set, and this pedal set allows you to instinctively understand how much do you need to brake and how to modulate your brake pedal. And it does it really, really well, in my opinion. Remember, you don't always need to commit 100% of the time for a corner or for a braking point. Sometimes you just need to commit 100% for a fraction of a second. And then after that, you just need a little bit of braking to just slow the car down a little bit more and retain grip at the front. If we continue this is a really good time. It's actually be better than my V3 times. And essentially, this proves that this pedal set does it really, really well, because with just a few days of use, I'm able to beat my times on the V3s. It tells you a lot about a brake or a pedal set. Honestly, I really love these pedals. The choice of elastomers is great and will give you exactly what you want out of them. And I was thinking that it would be more difficult to get in the groove of them. And I thought it would be very hard to extract performance because it's not something that I'm used to. But within 10 minutes of using them and understanding what they are asking of you, I was lapping as fast in them as I was in my V3s, and I've had my V3s for about 2 years now. As pedals go, the Pro XRs are really good for the price, I think. However, critical call sign needs to point out a few things. These pedals are currently small batch with a lead time of up to 4 weeks. So that means, unlike Heusinkvelds pedals or other brands, they won't be really off the shelf. They will take time to be built and delivered. Then there's for me the issue of the clutch. I know the pedal set is a prototype, and I'm sure they will have a look at it once they have the pedal set back, but it needs to be mentioned. This gives me still a slight pause in terms of reliability of the hardware. Heusinkvelds has a deserved reputation of absolute reliability in customer support. If something goes wrong, it will be fixed and very, very fast. This obviously will make part of the product's value and cost. The last point for me is something that is really important in my opinion, and in this case, the payment method. It is bank mostly, or it's only advertised as bank only. I've asked Gyrosim about it. They said if the customer wants a PayPal transaction, that could be done. Though it is more than just that for me. PayPal provides a certain level of customer protection in the transaction that a bank transfer, especially one that is international bank transfer, even if it's done within the European Union space, cannot compete with. Would I spend 580 euros or thereabouts of my own money in this set with this performance? Yes, I would, but it's very hard for me to say yes when the payment method is that one that we have. But anyways, tell me in the comments what you think about these sets, and if you want to check out the review of Fnatic V3, check out the card on this side.